This is my bed here. I think about dying often. Oh, right. So I fit.
If anyone had told me that I'd be laying in a casket talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson about farting Disney characters. Hello, and welcome to Grave Conversations, the only show where your favorite celebrities get to lie down. I'm your host, David Dastmalchian. Today's guest is someone that we hope lives for a very, very long time. He is the director of the Hayden Planetarium at the American Museum of Natural History, where he has served since 1996. His latest book is Just Visiting This Planet, revised and updated for the 21st century. Neil deGrasse Tyson, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so glad that you could be here with us. How are you feeling now that you are in a casket?
I'm feeling half dead because, normally in a casket you're fully dead, but then I realized, how old am I? And I have fewer years ahead of me than I've already lived. So I'm closer to death than ever before. And why not get a little taste of that by spending some time in a casket?
So when you said you feel half dead, you actually were incorrect. You're more like, what, 60%?
2/3 dead.
2/3 dead.
Yeah, I'm 60-something, and if you live as long as your parents did, I should get to become 90-something. Yeah, so it's 2/3 dead.
Do you think we're going longer now, or do you think the average is still kind of hanging in around the same?
Of course we're living longer. Oh my gosh. 20,000 years ago, half of all humans born were dead by the age of 30. Fast forward to 1840, half of all humans born in the world were dead by the age of 35. We gained 5 years in 20,000 years. And every one of those people was eating organic. And the air was clear and the waters ran pure. So something else has happened since then that has nothing to do with how back to nature you are. And we call it science. It's, sanitation and, yes, vaccines and antibiotics. You combine all of that, and it's made mighty improvements in our life expectancy. So here's a little pastime that I have for myself. Anytime I see an old-timey movie, and there's an old person in the movie, I ask, how old is that person who's old in the movie? They're like 60. And we have people now 80 years old running marathons.
Yeah.
So I think this will continue. Also, here's another little fact. The life expectancy of the country in the world that has the lowest life expectancy today is higher than that of the country in 1912 that had the highest life expectancy. Did that come out making sense?
It did, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a casket, so it's hard for me to think that I'm speaking fully rationally. But so it's improving worldwide. And then we haven't even talked about the genetics of it. If we go in there and mess with the genome and you find exaggerate here, but if we find the aging gene, it's more complex than that, of course. And what you want to, if you want to live long, you want to, it's the quality of life. You want a high quality life, not just laid
longevity, for sure.
Exactly,
No.
exactly.
Although I'm not opposed to if all that's preserved is my head, as long as I can talk, be seen, be heard, and people appreciate me. That doesn't sound terrible.
A head in a jar?
A head in a jar. It could
No,
happen.
I want to be able to still go to the beach and feel the ocean surf on my toes and pick up a seashell that's different from others. Without that, you are frozen in time. Your life experience is ossified in that moment. So I don't want to be a head in a jar. I'm laying up here in a casket, but really, I just want to be buried. I don't even want a casket. Just stick me in the ground.
Sure.
So that flora and fauna have immediate access to me, because I've spent my life dining upon flora and fauna. It's time for me to serve them their meal.
Yeah.
And that way, it's the circle of life. No, it's just, that way I just give back.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? And now, of course, casket just delays that because they have to get through the wood of the casket.
Sure.
And some people are buried in like metal caskets. They don't even want to decompose. They don't really, I'm thinking they don't understand death. Like, what are you trying to save there? Like,
Sure.
what are you up to?
The rituals are fascinating to me in the contemporary space as well. But if you are going to be buried in a casket, be buried in a Titan casket.
When a bully would sort of harass you, my grandmother said, punch him in the face. Okay?
Yeah, yep.
Punch him in the face,
Yep.
he'll never do it again. Knowing I'm going to die brings meaning to the days that remain. That's a way of thinking that I have found that 30-somethings and 20-somethings and teens do not. To them, everything is just life.
Well, the first segment before we get into some of the heavier stuff is the heaviest stuff. It's a segment that we call Questions You Need to Answer Before You Die, as the kids on TikTok call it, quintabid.
I'm ready for you, bring it on.
Neil, you're a very smart gentleman. How would you say things are going?
Well, we're born into our own world, and so that becomes the measure of what is good and bad. However, as an astrophysicist, I don't only care about the history of the universe, I care about the history of the world. I do a lot of reading of how people used to think, how their brains were wired, how they treated one another, by gender, by skin color, by any of the above. And my parents were active in the civil rights movement. So there is no time in the past that I would rather go to and declare, wow, it's better than. No, just do some homework. Just figure that out. And I did the math on this. In the Second World War, between 1939 and 1945, the 6 years of that war, 1,000 humans were killed per hour for every hour between 1939 and 1945. No matter who is dying today, nothing compares with that. That's the bloodiest we've ever been to each other in the history of civilization. And we didn't report on it that way. It was when we took a beachhead, or we moved the enemy out of the town, or we sank a battleship. We have these ways of describing that war without explicitly referencing the carnage. So when I think of where we are and what the state of the world is, yeah, we can definitely make it better. But there's no time in the past where I'm going to say, send me back then. That's when everything was good, because that is not the case. In fact, if I had a time machine, send me to the future.
We know the differences between the state of physical health. What do you think is the difference in the state of mental health?
I have no expertise in mental health. I've been a pretty emotionally stable person my whole life, and I read the symptoms of people who have anxiety, depression, and other sort of neurodivergence. And so there are a couple of things I just wonder this. When I was growing up, when a bully would sort of harass you, my grandmother said, punch him in the face. Okay?
Yeah.
And that was translated through my father.
Yep.
Punch him in the face,
Yep.
he'll never do it again. And now, that's before I think bullies were outlawed, right? And I think they're kind of outlawed now. But there's these irritations or things that threatened your physical well-being that you just kind of dealt with.
Yeah.
So I would use these stresses, there were also some racial tensions and things, I would use them to rejuvenate my energy supply, to say, I will overcome this. I will triumph over this. This will not pull me down. As Martin Luther King said, you can only be ridden if your back is bent. And that, plus there was a saying that you don't hear today. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. So my generation was conditioned to never be affected by name calling or anybody else who wasn't physically attacking you. Today, however, that's categorized as microaggressions, and it can happen to people depending on skin color or if you're on the gender spectrum, if you're female. So here's what I wonder. Once it was legitimized that this is a real force operating on your mental health, then we have an entire generation of people who are traumatized by it. Well, who were those people in my generation? Did we just suck it up? Or did they die? I mean, I don't know.
Did it get absorbed in ways that just manifested in other expressions that we look at now and we go, oh, I wonder why so many things ran rampant when it came to like the toxicity of like how our socioeconomic systems evolved in the 70s, 80s,
I have to agree.
et cetera, et cetera. And I think point counterpoint, you're very correct. As a parent of an 8 and 11-year-old, currently the policing, that seems like a pretty pejorative term in this day and age, but the way in which elementary schools and bullying is looked at with so much attention and focus, and it's wonderful. Isn't it, you talk about how the epochs of time, things keep shifting. So the elementary culture right now in the United States is such that like bullying is considered really bad. And yet, in like our political forum right now, it is the modus operandi of some of the most powerful people in our country.
The
I
bullies
think that's fascinating.
The bullies win. And so if you remove all the bullies from school and everyone else who's annoying or whatever, and you don't confront them, you don't navigate them, then as an adult, you have no coping skills for the workplace, which has a sampling of all of the above.
Sure.
And so I don't know how to opine on that other than to share the observation.
Neil, if aliens landed tomorrow, which I'm always expecting them to, and they demanded to speak to the quote unquote manager of Earth, who would you tell them to talk to?
Taylor Swift. No.
I think it's a great answer.
No. So the old take me to your leader is, they don't really know about the politics of society. They just want to know who's in charge. And that might be billionaires instead of politicians at this point. You know, the United States is rapidly sliding to an oligarchy, something we thought only really existed in other countries. Really, you should bring the alien to scientists. Ideally, an astrobiologist, and perhaps a cryptographer, and definitely an astrophysicist, because we think about aliens all the time. And if you bring it to anybody else, the military will shoot it and ask questions afterwards. The politician, they'll deport them because they're aliens. I mean, I don't know. I just published a book called Just Visiting This Planet.
Neil, what do you have there?
I was going to be buried with it because, you know, why not?
Sure.
And
time capsule.
You know, the reason why I bring it out in this moment, because I wrote a column for 15 years under a pen name called Merlin, not the Arthurian Merlin. It's there's more than one David in the world. There's more than one Merlin. This one came from another planet. Merlin is an alien visiting Earth, helping Earthlings learn science. And so this was like the proving ground for how am I going to bring science to the public in ways that they can have joy in learning and have it not just be a wiki page or whatever ChatGPT hands you, the soulless AI just answering a question rather than celebrating your curiosity. So I'm going to be buried with this so that I can read it in the afterlife. I came in second in the science fair.
Wow.
To some guy who grew beans. And I don't know. If I live a healthy life and die of natural causes, I'm 2/3 of the way there. So I have less life to live than I have already logged.
Which Disney character do you think would be the worst roommate?
The most annoying, I think, would be Timon.
Okay, yeah.
Timon is just, shut up already. I mean, Pumbaa, we gotta love Pumbaa. Come on now.
Which one's passing gas though?
Oh no, so. No.
Because it's your roommate, you know?
Yeah. The Pumbaa passes gas, so you have to have ventilation for that. But that's not his fault, he's a pig. Cut him some slack. When they were looking out in just this posture in The Lion King, looking up at the stars, and Pumbaa asked Timon, what are those lights up there on the sky?
Yeah.
Do you know? Do you wonder what I don't have to wonder, I know. those are lights stuck in that little blue thing up there. And Puma says, oh, I thought they were balls of gas burning billions of miles away. And then Timon says to Puma, to you, everything's gas. You see, that's that entire dialogue. And they were just sitting out under the stars, just like us.
If anyone had told me that I'd be laying in a casket talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson about farting Disney characters, I
well, that
never
scene
would have
had the
believed
night
it.
sky in it, which I remember
I
from
love
every
that.
single film.
I remember I saw that movie in the movie theaters, and when that scene in that particular dialogue, I thought it was some of the most brilliant writing I'd seen yet. It was so amazing. What is a hobby or interest that you have that people would be surprised by?
If I had another life, it'd have to be a different universe, not even just another life. I would be a songwriter for Broadway musicals.
I love that.
I think people are generally surprised by that. I enjoy writing. I enjoy communicating a simple idea with words that move you emotionally. And that's what a good lyric does in a Broadway musical. It can't be too complicated. It's not a lesson plan. It's emotion. And I once made a list of things that I like, and one of them is I'd like to speak my thoughts, but sing my feelings. So I would use my writing abilities as a nonfiction writer. By the way, I hate the term nonfiction. I don't want what I do to be the negation of what someone else does. So here in this casket, in my last moments of life, I want to declare that what I write is not nonfiction, let's call it faction. I write facts, and it's my own word. Our own word for everyone who writes nonfiction. Let us from henceforth call it faction.
Faction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where was I? So I like writing and thinking how the reader will receive the word and the rhythm of the juxtaposition of words and the length of the sentence. And what information is there? And is it too heavy or is it too light? And so, yeah, I would be a songwriter for a Broadway musical.
Who would you rather fight? The ghost of Carl Sagan or the ghost of Stephen Hawking?
I mean, I don't want to fight either of them.
Thank you, and good answer. Who would you rather have coffee with?
I don't even like coffee, so I would have hot chocolate. And I happen to know that Carl Sagan also liked hot chocolate, so he would be a better hot chocolate companion. And Stephen Hawking can't really eat. He's fed through a feeding tube,
Sure.
So that really wouldn't work. So it'd have to be Carl Sagan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Billions and billions. Did you know, like everyone, we had
No,
Kevin
do it
Pollak
right. If you're
on.
gonna do it. Billions and billions. Get some lowered registers.
I know. I could play Carl
And billions
Sagan.
and billions. That's what you just sounded like. Fix it.
Billions and billions.
That's a little bit. You're an actor. You should be able to hit that note.
And I grew up watching Carl. I mean, that show was.
And you got a butter voice
mind-blowing.
anyway. Give me some
Yes.
billions.
Billions and billions.
Thank you.
Billions and billions of light years away. What's easier to comprehend, Neil deGrasse Tyson? Parallel universes or parallel parking?
Ooh, so around where I live in New York City, there's a parking lot called unparalleled parking. I thought that was very clever.
Great name. I love clever
That's
stuff
very
like that.
clever. It's not the cleverest thing I've ever seen. Cleverest I've ever seen was a cheese shop in the Middle East. It was called Cheeses of Nazareth. I thought that was really good. But anyhow,
So dumb.
I don't know if that was apocryphal or real, but
Really last question before we get into the next section, which I love the next section, but I just wanted to know this because I did them and I actually pitched several that were wisely shut down by my junior high science teachers. But did you ever do the science fair? And if you did, do you remember any of your projects?
oh yeah, of course.
Do you remember one in particular that really stood out to you?
When I was in 8th grade, I built this spectroscope and obtained spectra of the moon, which is functionally identical to the spectrum of the sun because the moon is just reflected sunlight. And I built the spectroscope from scratch with like in a wood shop with a prism. And I did this and I came in second in the science fair.
Wow.
To some guy who grew beans. And not that I don't know.
Hey, Beans guy, if you've been spending all these years like being like, I beat Neil.
When I see a joyous dog, I say to myself, I want to be that joyous in my life because I want to be that aware of how short my time is in this universe. I think everyone should have a grave conversation because it forces you to reconcile your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings with the fact of being alive, knowing that one day you will die.
I want to go deeper now.
Please.
On Grave Conversations, we want to normalize conversations about death and dying. Shall we talk about end-of-life celebrations and end-of-life funerals and all that good
Let's
stuff?
do it.
Great.
I think about it often. Go.
This is a segment we call Death Wish. If you got to pick, how would you like to die?
If I knew I was going to die, I would choose to die by falling into a black hole, and I would have a whole set of transmitters to send back to scientists who are safely outside the black hole, and I would give a full report on my way in. And that way we would get data in my death.
Have you ever done funeral planning for yourself? So something you've ever talked about with loved ones?
Yeah, I don't want to be memorialized. I don't care. I'm dead. I just don't care.
Okay.
The funerals are for the living. They're not for the dead.
True.
The dead, you don't know. You don't care. And I don't need a monument or anything. As an educator, I will know I have succeeded when we spend time together and you go off and you are enlightened, inspired, you are fulfilled by what I supplied you, and then you go forth. And everything you do thenceforth makes no reference to me because you've taken ownership of that knowledge, ownership of your own wisdom, and of your own renewed curiosity. So I lived by the ethos of Horace Mann back in the early 19th century. In his farewell address at a university where he served, he said, I beseech you to treasure up in your hearts these my parting words. Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity. And that, I want that on my tombstone. Here's how I think we need to put it in context. If you look at the human genome, oh my gosh, there's 10 to the 30th power, at least, of how many possible humans you can make with variations in the genome. And how many humans have ever been born? About 100 billion, plus or minus. That number is vanishingly small compared with all that is possible. And so the fact that we die, and this is a thought that I first saw expressed by Richard Dawkins, the biologist, but it's correct front to back. It's we get to die because we lived. Yet most humans who could ever exist will never even be born. So death is not a tragedy. Death is a privilege of the living. And that's how I think about it. Think of dogs. What's the dog equation for the age? Is like a factor of 7?
Yeah.
Right? So wait a minute, think that through. A dog dies at age 15, let's say. That's an old dog. That means a day unto you is a week unto a dog. They're always happy to see you, even if you just went out to get the mail. They're jumping up and want to lick you in the face. Maybe deep down they understand that they have to make every day count because they have 1/7 as many days in their life as you will have in yours. So when I see a joyous dog, I say to myself, I want to be that joyous in my life because I want to be that aware of how short my time is in this universe. Here's something I learned from some Native Americans. If I'm a little bit cold, because I didn't add another layer, I don't rush to get another layer. I say, I'm going to feel a little bit cold right now. If I'm a little bit warm and I'm a little bit sweaty, I'm going to feel the sweat. I'm not going to just rush into an air-conditioned room. Think how much effort we spend to narrow the range of temperatures that our body experiences. What are we doing there? And I came to learn or discover for myself that when I feel a little warm or when I feel a little cold, this is my body experiencing a range of temperatures that exist in the natural world. Your senses are your evidence that you are alive. And so I want to feel that range in temperature. I want to know that there's a temperature to feel. If you live your life in 72-degree air, whatever you would define as room temperature, that is not living. That is closing yourself off from all that you could be feeling in this world. And that the emotional version of that is, it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all.
Absolutely.
So I think the idea that you will occasionally feel pain or discomfort is necessary as reminders that we have a sensory system that's designed to do just that.
If you could know the exact moment of your death, would you want to?
I don't see why not. Then I would plan accordingly. I mean, don't you like to plan?
Sure.
You know, and so I'd like information. I don't want to stick my head in the sand and say, don't tell me, I don't want to know. By the way, I grew up with a generation of people that didn't want to know if they had terminal cancer. Or the doctors, there was an ethos in the medical community. Don't tell them, let them think. I said, what? What? I value objective truths. I value the discoveries of science and inquiry and questions and answers so that I can make the most informed decisions I can in the interest of my own happiness. So yes, do tell me the date and time if you know it.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, realizing this neurodiversity feature term that I love the fact that that's a new vocabulary word for us all. This notion of free will, it got me thinking, if someone is about to jump off a bridge, do they have the free will to not jump off the bridge? Is there something about their mind and their neurochemistry where that is the next thing that's going to happen to them that led them there?
I was going to say that's a really complicated question, because there are those who are suffering from like extreme forms of mental unwellness where I don't know if they have what we would consider a choice in that moment. There are those who are facing the possibility of a very painful, long gestating terminal illness, who are standing there and going, I am choosing this moment over 2 years of suffering through treatments that I know are futile. So there's
Those
like
are two different examples.
Two different, yeah.
Yes.
And I think your question is really profound, because I do believe there are people who I don't think have a choice.
Right, and so the more I think about the world, the less I think we are in full control of our outcomes. And I don't take it for granted that I can drink 2 glasses of wine and push the third glass away. I say, I'm done here. Where people who have addictions, there is no stoplight.
There is no one glass and that's it.
There's no stoplight.
I'll see you in 3 weeks and you'll be bailing me out of jail. Thank you very much.
Right, exactly. And so I have a completely different level of empathy that has descended upon me in recent years. So I count this in the ranks of wisdom that comes with age, where when I see people who are struggling, I grew up in a generation, just pick up your bootstraps and just get over it. And I no longer think that. I feel the world more than I ever did before. I never spent any time in a casket before, but no, I was just laying down looking up, and I do that a lot in the night sky, so it was an easy adjustment.
Neil, I'm so grateful for you opening up with us today. I want to talk about really quickly what's happening with you and your life outside of the casket. It's a little segment that we call Living for This. What are you working on personally, professionally, that makes you feel alive? Like, can you tell us about your book, say, why you chose to write your new book?
Yeah, I find myself, I've written a bunch of books, and I didn't start out life saying, I'm going to write books, or I'm going to be known no, I'm perfectly happy just in the lab, you know, but the cameras come, and they want to know, well, tell me about this eclipse, or the rocket launch, or this, and many of my colleagues are on the autism spectrum, and they're perfectly happy and fully productive in the lab. And as best as I can judge, I'm not on the autism spectrum. So I can step forward and give a reply to the camera that I can, in that capacity, I'm a servant of the curiosity of not only the news group that's coming for that information, but of the public who's going to consume that news story. So I would always rather just stay home or go back to the lab. When I'm visible to you in the public, I'm a servant of your curiosity. I do it willingly, but if I could design the world in any way I wanted, I would just stay home with wife and kids, but they're all grown up now. And one of the things I do with great pleasure is I have this big comfy couch, and I put on like a blockbuster, expensively produced movie. Usually,
I know about those.
Oh, you know about those?
Yeah.
And I air popcorn and put on slightly too much melted butter, because slightly too much butter for me is just the right amount. And just sit there and enjoy the movie. And then I like to walk on the beach, and I especially like a clear night sky. And I take my telescope out under the canopy of stars, and it's me and the universe together. And a little secret fact, ever since childhood, I've wanted to be abducted by aliens in that moment. I've been looking up in the night sky with a telescope since I was like 10 or 11. Well, actually, my first telescope was when I was 12. But I was looked up with binoculars, but the telescope really gets it to you. And no one else is with you, because that's a very solitary thing, you and your telescope. So I'm there alone in the dark, and I wanted a beam of light to come and abduct me. I still feel that every time I look out in the night sky.
Well, Neil, before we lay this interview in the ground naked to nourish the flora and fauna which they have nourished upon for its whole duration, I do have one final thing I wanted to ask you to do. We would like you to please give your own eulogy. It is spelled out Y-O-U-logy. That's very funny, right?
Only if you see it written out.
That's
But
right,
if you just
right.
heard it, you would never know.
Depends on the orator, by the way, too. I can
true.
deliver it better.
That's
when
true.
I say die,
Do it with feeling this time. Eulogy.
eulogy.
Thank you.
As
You're the actor. I'm just a
as
scientist.
Carl Sagan would say.
Eulogy.
When I say die, you'll have 60 seconds to give yourself your own eulogy. This would be the epilogue on the book of your life. There will be fans and critics, sadly. Be yourself. I don't want you to overthink it. Don't overdo it. Just relax. Ready? 3, 2, 1, die.
In my old age, I've gleaned quite a bit of wisdom from my life experience, but I have mixed feelings about wisdom, because I've been asked if I could meet my younger self, what bit of wisdom would I share? And the answer is none, because every life experience that came upon me was itself the source of wisdom that would follow. And wisdom gleaned from life experience is always deeper and much more folded into who and what you are than wisdom shared with you by someone else from the benefit of their own life experience. So, to live a full life, do a lot of things in life so that you can experience so much more than just sitting home playing a video game. And by doing so, life becomes the adventure. Life becomes the journey. The failures and the successes both combine to turn you into who you are and who you will become, provided that continues until the day you die. So for me, I have been eternally curious until this moment. And as far as I can judge, in my afterlife, if there is such a thing, I'm going to be curious there too. Good night.
Neil, thank you. This has been one of the most memorable and important conversations I've gotten to have. And I do hope someday I get to stand with you on a beach somewhere looking up at the night sky and that perhaps we're even abducted by aliens together. But without further ado, I would like to say merci and goodbye.
I never thought I'd ever in my life have the occasion to share this observation. But vampires, when they come up out of the casket, they must have really good abs because they just come up.
I don't know if you realize this, Neil. You're speaking to a bona fide expert in the field. So, yes, I do know well.